To Stitch's surprise, the mailman dropped the other ball back in the box and picked up Stitch's. Stitch's heart began to race. This might be his chance. The mailman held him in his hand for what seemed a long time. "This one will do just fine," the mailman said. "Thanks again." The mailman dropped Stitch's in his mailbag and left the shop. Stitch's was overjoyed. He knew that he was getting a chance that the other balls in the shop might never get. They each had a special purpose in life, Scruffs had told him. But he just had to be ready when his chance came. And Stitch's knew he was ready. When the mailman went home that evening, he found his little boy in the front yard, tossing a pine cone up in the air and trying to catch it. When the little boy saw his father, he dropped the pine cone and ran to him and gave him a big hug. "Guess what I got for you today, Danny?" Danny's eyes lit up. The mailman reached into his mailbag and pulled out Stitch's. "Wow," Danny yelled. "Thanks, Dad." "That stitching is a little crooked, but it will work just fine." At first, Stitch's was embarrassed that the mailman had pointed out his crooked stitches. But Danny didn't care about the stitching. He loved his new baseball, and the baseball loved Danny. It no longer mattered to Stitch's that he was not quite perfect. "You know, I think I have an old bat in the garage somewhere," said the mailman. "I think I'll teach you how to hit." Danny gave Daddy another big hug. The next evening, and for many evenings after that, Danny and his dad went to the park with Stitch's and the old bat. Each time his father pitched the ball, Danny would swing at it with all his might. But he missed. He missed it each and every time. No matter how hard he tried, Danny couldn't hit the ball. One evening, after a big swing and a miss, Danny sat down on the ground and tears rolled down his cheeks. "Danny, you can do it," his dad said. "I know you can." "I'm never going to be a baseball player like those guys on TV," Danny cried. His dad put his arm around Danny's shoulder and said, "They all started out just like you, Danny. They had to learn from scratch. You will have plenty of time, and I know you'll be great at whatever you do. Let's try it one more time. Just watch the ball and swing a little softer." Danny wiped the tears from his eyes and got up to try again. His father believed he could do it, so Danny did too. The mailman picked up Stitch's and stepped back to toss him to Danny. "Just watch the ball, Danny." And with that, his father pitched the ball slowly and right over the rock that they were using for home plate. Danny swung the old bat and hit Stitch's high over his dad's head into the bushes at the end of the playground. The mailman threw up his arms in the air and shouted, "Yes, you did it, Danny." He picked up his son and held him tight. "That was a great hit, just like those guys on TV," he said. Danny smiled and laughed. "Wait a minute. If you're like those guys on TV, I need to get your autograph." The mailman set his son back down and ran to get Stitch's out of the bushes. He brought him back and pulled a pen out of his pocket. "Can I have your autograph, mister?" he asked Danny. "Sure," Danny said. He took Stitch's and the pen and signed his name. He handed it back to his biggest fan. "Thanks, mister," his dad said. "You're the greatest." From that day on, Danny and his dad never missed a chance to go to the park and practice. Stitch's got pretty beat up. He was soaked by the rain, run over by a car, and chewed on by a dog. His cover was marked with grass stains and lots of scuffs. but you could still see Danny's name right where he signed it in that wonderful day. As time went by, Danny grew taller and bigger and stronger, and sometimes he hit Stitches so far that he and his dad had trouble finding the ball. And then one day, Danny left for college. Stitches, along with Danny's toys and other things, was stored in a box and put in a closet. Sometimes the closet door would open, but no one ever opened the box. Even so, Stitches was happy. He knew that he had fulfilled his purpose, and he would not have chosen any other life than the one he had had. Years and years went by. Stitches lost count of so many. Then one day, the closet door was opened. The mailman, who was now old and gray and moved very slowly, knelt over the box. When he saw Stitches, a giant grin came across his face. "There you are," he said. "You're going to make a special trip." Stitches didn't know what the mailman was talking about, but he enjoyed seeing him again. He was carefully wrapped up and placed in another box all by himself. The retired mailman took him down to the post office and sent him on his way. Stitches was sad to leave, but he knew it must be for the best. A few days later, the box was opened again. This time, Stitches didn't see a familiar face. It was another old man, but he seemed very excited as he reached in to pick up Stitches. "Oh my, this is quite a ball," he said. "Everyone is going to love you." The old man carried Stitches down a hallway to a big glass case. He opened the case and set Stitches inside. Stitches couldn't believe it. In the back of the case was a picture of Danny. The old man closed the glass case and stood back to look at the display. Before he turned to walk away, he said something that Stitches never thought he would hear. "Welcome to the Hall of Fame." Stitches could not believe what he heard. There was another ball in the case next to Stitches, but he was much newer and had hardly been used at all. "Excuse me," Stitches said. "Did he just say welcome to the Hall of Fame?" "Yes, he did, and I have to say I am really honored to meet you." Well, Stitches was a little confused. He didn't understand how anybody, especially a ball that was in the Hall of Fame, could be so honored to meet him, the defective ball from the old Middlefield baseball factory. "Without you, I wouldn't be here," the ball said. I don't understand. What do you mean?" Stitches asked. The other ball paused and then began to tell Stitches about Danny and how he had made it to the major leagues. Stitches listened with excitement to every word. "I am Danny's 756th home run. He hit more than anyone who ever played the game, but he wouldn't have hit any if he hadn't had you." The two baseballs talked all night long, sharing stories and laughing. They became the best of friends. The next morning, every morning after that, the Hall of Fame opened and people came in to look at them. Stitches thought about his life and how he had gone from the old canvas bag to the glass case at the Hall of Fame. It was an amazing story. One day, years later, Danny came into the Hall of Fame. He was old and gray now, and he looked a lot like the mailman when he pulled Stitches out of the closet. Danny walked up to the glass case and knelt down to get a closer look at the grass-stained ball he had signed so long ago. He put his hand by the glasses and smiled. "Thank you, old friend," he said.